Live from the Civil Defense Shack in the remote alkaline flats of the Springfield Badlands. Welcome to Breaking the Fourth Wall, here talking about MagNation, MagNation, and anything else, individual nations, doesn't matter. My name's the Colonist, and thank you very much for joining me for this first MagNation podcast. Joining me today is a man who, for lack of better words, is definitely the rock that keeps the MagNation afloat. And he's put out amazing amounts of videos, and he's done it with a very tight schedule, and he's really responsible for putting everything together. And he's a good friend of mine, and I'm excited to have him on the show. So please welcome to the show on the first episode of Breaking the Fourth Wall, Trevor Nickel.
Thank you, sir.
Trevor, how you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Good. I'm glad you are here.
I'm honored that I'm the first one, actually.
I'm excited to talk to you. I mean, it seemed only fitting, that you were really the one who invited me into doing all of this. And you were the one who brought me into the game. I mean, as far as into a more widespread context, and to be able to work with the MagNation. And I'm here not representing MagNation. I'm here, primarily as a fan. And then it's also just, I'm excited to find out some of the inner stuff. And we're going to have fun today.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a lot of fun today. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, the first few people, the very first few episodes of the MagNation were Magnitude and the Shadow, and then you came along a little bit later. And I just want to know how you initially became involved with the MagNation. Like, how did Magnitude approach you, and how did that come about?
Actually, I approached him.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because we ended up, Magnitude, Packard, and I were on a bowling team together.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening there is that, like, even though we were kind of, like, on the, like, I don't know, friends of mine and friends of theirs had, like, disagreements.
Somewhat acquaintances.
Yeah, so like, we were chill for a while, and then, like, I don't know, shit happened. And then, so I was still friends with them, it's just that, like, we weren't as tight as we were. So it was those three forming their own wrestling show. And every week after bowling, we'd go and do, like, we'd have dinner somewhere, or, like, I don't know, ice cream or whatever. And we'd go and they'd talk about what they were doing. And I was like, all right, you got two choices. Either you make it like a big match thing where it's like, oh, Russell Brand and Tim Tebow going against each other, or you go and make it like a weekly episodic WWE thing.
Oh my God, Russell Brand was in the MagNation, and I totally forgot about that until you brought it up.
Yes,
that happened, folks.
Fighting
Russell
over
Brand
Katy Perry, believe it or not.
Oh my God.
Memories.
Back in the day.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, you want to have, like, Peter Griffin going against Homer Simpson, like, stuff like that, where, like, you have potential to get views and have it be, like, kind of like Celebrity Deathmatch? Or do you want to have it be, like WWE? Those are the two roads you could go on.
So it was almost territory system versus more of what you see today. Instead of booking the big guys for the big matches and having that be the spectacle, it's more of a storyline-driven show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And which is it's crazy that, like, we've able to come so far from where we were.
Absolutely. I mean, you're about to celebrate your 4-year anniversary.
Oh God, so long ago.
Can you believe that it's been 4 years since this program got off the ground?
4 years ago, we recorded what we thought was such a long pay-per-view. It was like an hour and a half long, which we almost do on a weekly basis.
Which you've now wiped the floor with. I was about to say,
yeah, like we do like 4.5 hour long pay-per-views and shit. I couldn't imagine doing that monthly, but, like, I like the way we're doing it now. But, like, to do that in Packard's basement because it's, like, air conditioning was out or something, and we've come this far. It's crazy. I can't believe that we were able to do that. A main event with, like, King versus Yusuke.
That might still be, to this date, my favorite match of all time.
King versus Yusuke?
King versus Yusuke.
Right on.
That match was just unbelievable, and the commentary was so funny on that episode.
Oh, yeah.
So you're pitching to Magnitude, and you're pitching you could do it either this way or this way. And how did he respond, and how did it end up getting you on the team?
What ended up happening was that, like, we ended up, like, every week would kind of become like a planning session at that point.
Oh, right.
It just got to the point where, I don't know, I was like, I know a lot of wrestling moves. Because I was like, you guys don't call it the moves as much, which we're probably guilty of still. But
it helps. It does help to have that knowledge, even if it's somebody just in the back, just paying attention to it and bring it out when it needs to be happening.
Yeah. So I wasn't, like, watching this stuff like as hardcore, but, like, and then I got a tryout episode. I think it was, like, I forget what match it was. I could probably look it up. But what ended up happening was that Shadow had the week off.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, fine, all right, you're going in. And I was like, cool.
I mean, and then the rest, as they say, is history, because you have not looked back.
No, I've been on probably the second most amount of videos now.
You've been probably on almost every one of them since, I would say.
Yeah, I'm looking for the first one that we did.
It's few and far between that you're not on a video anymore. Save for MagNation, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Oh, yeah.
But
breaking the fourth wall there.
Yeah, seriously. Legitimately. But did you ever expect 4 years ago when you first signed on that you'd be here and that you'd still be doing this?
No, I honestly didn't know, because, like, the dream of any person doing anything on YouTube is like, oh, we could just make a living off this, and it never happens, like, nope. Ever. Like, yeah, we're gonna get like 2 million views per episode. It would be nice. I mean, share the video with your friends and everything, but like but it's a dream. But I thought that I like the way how we're going now, of how we're having episodic shows, which is cool, and I get to like plan out my own E-Fed in a way, and people actually like it. And like Blue, I'd never even considered doing anything like that before, and then
here we are, what, 44, 45 episodes in now?
We just finished episode 45. Should be going up in the next little bit. And,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and then from there we have Northern Lights 3 coming up at the end of the month.
Oh yeah.
And in between that, we're gonna have the end of the GDT. We're finally finishing that.
That was started what, in like last year this time?
It was started at like near 14. Like,
yeah.
Did the entire thing on 14.
Yeah. Oh my god. And here we are approaching 2K16.
Yeah.
And who knows where that's gonna go. I don't know how to explain what my feelings are for that, but I did see that what's his name? Finn Balor's actually was one of the first 6 people introduced into that.
Yeah, and that automatically makes me want to buy the game, because I think it's going to be available on 360 and PS4 and Xbox One and all that stuff.
That would be great.
So it's going to be the last gen game. And what I look for in gameplay is like good gameplay, good movesets and entrances. That's what I want. If it was basically the same people as the last one, I wouldn't care. I'd probably stick with 15, even though like the roster size isn't near as good for me as far as trying to get people to like, you know, get uploaded.
Now they're only like what, 25 spots total on that or something like that
for PS4.
For 15,
for 15 on PS4 and Xbox One, yeah. On 360, it's still 100, which is why I'm rolling with Blue on 360 right now.
There we go.
Because there's no way in hell. They're like, well, you could do multiple like hard drives. I'm like, what? No, I'm not doing that.
Just considering the investment that would take, like it's a little bit more than I think you're probably willing to do, especially considering your time schedule, which brings me to my next question. You know, you're on the road almost constantly doing your job, and you go out finding your place after place. And what's the hardest part of being on the road and you still find the time, which is amazing. It's inspiring, and it baffles me how much you're able to still put in and dedicate, how much time you're willing to dedicate to the MagNation and how much you're able to put up. So what's the hardest part of being on the road and also finding the time to do that too?
Hardest part of being on the road is like, I don't know, probably being comfortable. Like, that's the one thing, because when you get home, you just want to be like comfortable, hang out for a little bit. It's it's nice, but you don't have that when you're on the road. Like basically, like, and I just become like an old man on the road. Like, all right, I get into the hotel, relax, order food, go on to the next day, and it's hard to get comfortable on the road.
Right.
And, like, getting good internet would also be amazing, especially when you gotta like upload a video. What I'd ideally like to do, especially with Magnitude coming to work for the same company as me, if we go on trips, get ready. Road trips.
That's going to make for some entertaining MagNation videos. I'm positive of that.
Oh, absolutely. Like us like drinking in a hotel room. Let's go.
I will tell you, I have done some drunk videos before, and I mean drunk videos, and it did not go well. Well, because I did it with 4 of my friends. And anyone who watches CIW, there's the video I just put up. 2 things happened with that video that caused it not to go up twice. The first was that I recorded it, and then I recorded it with the audio incorporated with the video. So I had these 3 guys who were also drunk and me, and there were some very, very not cool jokes that were thrown in. So I had to throw that whole episode out.
Yep.
Let me put it this way. If Racist Paul hated the military, that would probably be where we were.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Racist Paul.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that too, because because that's almost legendary in infamy now. For those of you who haven't seen it, there's a video way back in the early stages of the MagNation. I forgot what the match was, but let's just say it has some... It's some very
3 years ago with 6,800 views. Android 17 versus Piccolo and Tony Hawk.
So for any of you, I mean, it is infamous.
So bad.
Yeah, that's probably. I think would you consider that like a low point of the MagNation was putting that in there? I know it was still early, but looking back 4 years later. Was that a regrettable decision on your guys' behalf?
Well, I wasn't there for that. So
that's true. You were not on commentary.
Legal team, don't get on me for that.
That's true.
What ended up happening was just like, I don't know, they just did it like after a party or something like that, and I was just like, God, yeah.
And 6,800 people have seen that video.
Yeah, if we ever like go big time or whatever, that shit's gone.
It's got to go down. So watch it while you can. While you got the opportunity, go and watch the video. But there's some pretty interesting content on it, so just be forewarned. But speaking of Packard, let's talk about Packard for a little bit.
Yes.
Because it's interesting because it was weird the way that he left the MagNation, because he was around and he was really a staple for the longest time.
Oh, sure was.
For a couple of years, and then all of a sudden he kind of just left, and a lot of us were wondering, like, he left from the show, and then we got word maybe couple months later that he had actually left the company. So yeah. What happened there? Like, what went on where Packard decided to leave the MagNation?
Oh, we had a falling out. And it isn't as bitter as it was before, but like he ended up doing some things that he shouldn't have done. I'm not going to go into what those are.
That's okay. No need to.
He did things that he should not have done, and we just couldn't trust him at all. And I mean, like, it's crazy to think like where we were, but like, I don't know, like it's insane that I was like with him for so long, and then like he's just off doing his own thing. He has like a weird lion mane thing now, and I wish him the best in whatever he's doing. It's just that like.
Well, the interesting thing about it is, I mean, I would argue, and it's obviously just of my opinion, that in a lot of respects, once Packard left, the product itself improved.
Yeah,
and as far as the content goes, as far as more of a family oriented, more of a friendly environment for what you guys were going for.
Yeah, exactly. Magnitude and I, like, we still swear a lot because we got it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, that's not a worry, but
like it ended up being like the prime example is the Harlots division.
That was the next thing. That was exactly the next thing I was going to bring up. So let's talk about the Harlots division.
That was Packard's deal all the way to push this. Like, we need the women, we need the women, we need the women. And we're like, what? Okay. And then he's like, makes up all these like horrendous jokes, and I was trying to riff off him, which made me sound way worse of a person.
Yeah.
Like, if I were to ever like show my girl like a girlfriend or whatever like any of these videos, Harlots matches are not happening.
Yeah.
At all, because it just I have respect for women and shit like that, and like
absolutely.
those just did not sound like it at all. Like,
well, yeah, that was the thing that I found, like, because it was interesting watching those, because sometimes they were good jokes, but sometimes it was jokes of kind of like, did he really just say that? Did he really just go there? And
like,
and it was, especially even with the booking, even with the way that the roster was booked, it was very like, it was more of a favoritism type of thing.
The booking was horrendous.
Yeah, it was
horrendous.
Yeah.
And he had months of it planned, like months of those storylines planned of like, well, they could do this, and like calling the belts the fucking double D belts, and I was like, what are you doing? And like, he had a boner for Daenerys Targaryen, so he's like, I'm gonna make her my champion now and have her be undefeated, and Taylor Swift is gonna sell her fucking anal virginity, and
that's what this was on the show, people. We can't make this up.
I was just like,
this was actually on videos. If you look back, if you're joining us and you've only been watching since Blue and Green started, if you want to have a little bit of MagNation history, feel free to go through and go back through those.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of interesting stuff, and there's also a lot of stuff where you're just like, what's happening?
It was our growing pain. we were still like molding what we wanted our videos to be.
Right.
And there were some good women's matches, and like they were so like
Sure.
like the super kick was awesome and stuff like that. But there was also like some characters that I wish I could bring back for the MagNation Blue Women's Division.
Right, and it's not like the Harlots division it wasn't like the wrestling was the problem. It wasn't like having women on the show was the problem. It was more of the how are they being used, how are they being treated, and how are they even being looked at.
Oh yeah.
And I think that was where the big discrepancy came from.
And like to have say what we were having, like what also sucks is a lot of people that make the women for the games are the kind of people that would make the women for the games, if you were.
I know what you mean.
So they make them like really, really slutty, and that probably didn't help the image either. But like my two favorite, as far as like ones that I could riff off better, I enjoyed the fact that like I was so horrified of like Jessica Rabbit. That was funny for me. Like that
was good.
I enjoyed like yelling like "Oh, the humanity." But my favorite of all time is of jokes was Fiona. And that was that joke actually that inspired my John Goodman joke. Yep.
Where I hired John Goodman on the premise that he was going to be given a 1-year 100,000 turkey leg contract. And then they had and because the cooler full of turkey legs was the bit for that.
Yep.
And I thought that went over. It's not like the Harlots didn't have stuff where they went over. They got along with the fans. Yeah. It was just a little too much graphic content, I think.
Oh yeah, the Fiona thing I enjoyed. The turkey legs I enjoyed, and like one joke that kind of got brushed over is where I started treating her like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Where, where I was like, no, if you just stay still, she can't see.
Yeah. I remember that, but it fitted subtly. But I remember you saying that. That was really funny.
Yeah, just like taunting her because she was through in a cage. Yeah. Like stuff like that I enjoy doing. That's why I was like, I never had any bad feelings with the women's division. But you notice why it went away is like when Packard departed, that was the main thing that like went away immediately because like it was still like a barb that we were just like, oh god, I just don't want to deal with all this crap. That's why we just like abolished the division for a while and just focus on men. And then I was like, you know what, like you saw Green experimenting with a little bit, like, all right, let's bring him back. And Green has a couple, and I don't know if he's gonna have any shortly. If not, I'm probably gonna just bring in a couple people that he has, specifically like Harley Quinn. I'm looking at.
Right.
But
that's definitely a point of to be determined and to be watching.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are there, stay tuned because we've got the women's division. It's going to be built up. I'm sure that's the next big project is to get them back to prominence. I got one more question before we have to move on. The WWE job. Let's talk about the WWE job if you're allowed to.
Oh yeah, we are.
So how did that come about? Like how did you guys first get the news that they wanted you and what was the process like of working with them and putting the shows up on a much grander scale than obviously just a YouTube show?
What ended up happening with that is that they ended up like someone, I forget who liked some of our stuff, and I think they I forget what video they like in particular, but they were like, wow, this is like really cool. And what ended up happening with that was that we had a test out match, which was Bruiser Brody versus Abdullah the Butcher, and that was literally who he suggested was Abdullah the Butcher.
Oh yeah, I remember that match.
And that was a thing, and 4,200 views, Abdullah the Butcher and Bruiser Brody.
Oh, there you go.
Of course. What ended up happening was that he liked it enough, and they're like, all right, you guys are gonna have your own show, like MagNation presents WWE 13 or whatever, and we're like, hell yeah, that sounds amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like anyone would have done that. And then we go to like do our first video and we plan out like who we're gonna have, and like we had to run by all the rosters with WWE,
which all had to be their people, right? It couldn't have been any of the creative guys from MagNation.
It had to be WWE people, couldn't be TNA people. Yeah, like we could bring in like past people, like we were gonna bring back like the Hurricane, shit like that.
Oh, that would have been great. I would have loved to have seen the Hurricane on the first of all, I'd love to see the Hurricane on the MagNation, period, because it's the Hurricane.
Well,
it is the Hurricane, but
I could probably get away with that on Red actually, because like
there you go.
Because Red does have D-League rules.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, Scott Steiner's been champion for what, a year now?
Yes.
So
uncontested.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
what ended up happening with that is that we recorded the first video and it just didn't go over well because, like, honestly, I thought like our audio was shitty for that. Like, what sucked is that with say me talking to this one mic right now, it sounds good, but when you have like 4 people from like other planes of the room, and like even though we were all trying to sit on a couch, it was like 4 of us going, and Packard and Pat were arguing at that point. It was MagDude and I, like the freaking like family trying to like keep the parents from fighting or whatever, and it just was awkward, and like we had to like stop commentary at one point because like Pat like called like he said that RVD had like bitch tits, and we're like no we can't say that, and like Packard like snapped at him, and it was just like uncomfortable commentary.
Yeah.
And honestly, if we had a better shot, if it was just me, Mag, and Pat now, I think it would be a lot better.
Right.
But like, yeah, it just sucked, and like what ended up happening was like that, like October was a time where like everything fractured for the most part. Like Pat and Packard ended up fighting, and then things went down from there, and then we lost our WWE deal. Like the video was up for like less than a week, and then we
because it ended so abruptly, and that's what was so confusing about it, is that it was like, oh, we're gonna hire you, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're future endeavored.
Yep. And it just sucked. Like October was probably like one of the worst months in this company's history that year, because like it was just we got hired, we had the falling out between Pat and Packard, then like we all had like some personal shit happen, and then from there, like, and we losing our WWE deal, like we didn't even know we were going to continue at that point, just because like we didn't know.
Right.
Like, why should we? Like, that was our shot, and like it didn't happen, and that was a truly dark time for this thing, and
imaginable.
Yeah, and then what ended up happening is like, I forget what ended up happening after that. I think we ended up continuing, and it became more about me and Magnitude doing stuff, and that's where like the blue and green started, because I started getting more involved because Magnitude was the workhorse at that point, like doing everything himself.
The John Cena of the MagNation, no doubt.
MagNation, and he did the Harlots, and then he did all of his other. Like,
because Magnitude has what, 4 or 5 other different channels that he has.
And then he did the D-League on top of that too. So and then like I was doing my suggestions for the D-League, and Packard was doing his suggestions for the Harlots. And at that point, he's like, look, I can't do all of this on my own anymore. You guys are going to have to pick up the slack if you want your stuff to happen. I can still do the MagNation, but if you guys want the Harlots or the D-League, you got to pick up the slack. And I'm like, fine. So I bought the recorder thing from Johnny, and I started recording the D-League myself. And that's where I think, I forget when it started, but it just, that's where it came from. It was out of necessity. It was like, I want the D-League to keep going. It's popular. And that's where it went, and from there, like Packard,
the rest is history. Look where we are now.
Like like Packard didn't want to like have the Harlots thing, and then he started bitching and like getting more butthurt that the Harlots weren't featured more, and blah 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 blah.
And then that all ended, and but I think that even that dark period really ended up being better in the long run because of all of that happened, and we got to move on to the next segment.
Okay.
Before we do that though, I want to plug for the next episode. Which I'm hoping to try and get the Shadow to come and do episode 2.
Oh, that'd be badass.
So, for any of you guys out there who have any questions for the Shadow, you could tweet at myself at CIW Colonist or Trevor at Mr. Tomadre 81,
which is my former YouTube channel. Actually, it's probably still around. I don't know if there's not any new content on there. Well, but it exists.
But feel free to tweet either of us your questions, and we'll throw them on to the next show, because this is about you. It's about giving you some insider stuff about what goes on in the MagNation. And so we're going to take a little bit of a turn now, and we're going to go to Around the Squared Circle, which is where we're going to talk about just wrestling as a whole nowadays, both on TV and just around the world. So the first thing, I'm going to kind of bring the mood down a little bit. Let's talk Dusty.
And that's right, Daddy.
Rest his soul. God rest his peace.
4 out of 40 for Dusty.
Let's talk about Dusty for a minute. What was your reaction when you got the news, the pretty sudden news that Dusty had passed?
All right, that was a shitty week last week, and let me tell you why. On Monday, one of the bosses that like in the company that I work for died, died, and it was crazy because like I just saw the dude the week before, and then, like he was a good dude, jovial, all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
and what ended up happening was like, and this is what sucked. It was like it got sick on like a Friday, out Saturday, hospital Sunday, gone Monday. It happened that quick.
That's shocking.
And then Christopher Lee died that morning.
Yeah, that was it wasn't as much of a stunner to me because he's 92 years old, but
he's in the Betty White region where if they die, you're like, all right, good game, good run.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It was like, oh, I'm really sad because he's like my favorite actor, but like he was 92. Like you can only ask for so much.
Exactly. And then I was just messing with Will, guy on the right, and what ended up happening there was that like. I was like, all right, that's 2. Who's going to be number 3? And I loaded up Facebook, and like a little bit later, and I just see R.I.P. Dusty Rhodes. I'm like, come on! And so that was my reaction. I was just angry.
I feel
like, damn it! What the hell?
After the first 2 of those happening, and then to have Dusty Rhodes, which I think shocked pretty much everybody.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I liken it to almost like wrestling's Robin Williams, where he was such like a father figure and he was such an inspirational figure, and to have him go with like no prompt. I mean,
he was one of those that was just universally beloved.
Yeah, and it's rare to have that, especially in the industry today. To have someone who's just liked across the board, doesn't matter what he did or where he went, people loved Dusty.
Oh yeah,
and that's the crazy part about it.
And it's it's crazy to think that like what he was before, and like what he is now as far as like legend. I mean, what he was right before he died, which was like a guy that was like a mentor to all those NXT kids.
Yeah,
like imagine where NXT was before Dusty went down there, and so it was like.
And consider the promos that we've heard so many NXT people come out with, which you would have never heard that out of El Generico ever.
No,
ever. And think about how far Sami Zayn's come in his dialogue when he's putting up a promo, especially against Kevin Owens. That was his best material.
By far.
And I think Dusty's a primary thing. And that actually concerns me a little bit with Dusty gone, is like, who's going to be the one who can really sell the promo and teach these kids how to properly sell this promo?
I'd like to see someone go down there, like, I don't know, like, what, like, Jericho's doing, someone like that. But like,
well, he's doing Tough Enough, so I could see him being a part of that.
Or maybe even like a Daniel Bryan, because like Daniel Bryan concerns me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because like it's one of those people that like if you got told that Daniel Bryan was retiring tomorrow, you'd be bummed, but you'd understand.
Right.
So I think it'd be good if like he went down there as like in like a trainer aspect, because he's gonna miss wrestling. Like, quick story about Daniel Bryan. Like when he got hurt before, they're like, you might not like he had a stinger in his arm or something with his arm. He was thinking about coming back and wrestling with only one arm.
Wow.
Like that's how much he wanted to wrestle, and like
that shows the heart. That shows like that's why I think people love him so much, because he doesn't hide anything back as far as his mentality and his spirit and his love of the business, and it shines. You can always see that with him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's just crazy, and especially just because Dusty. And I think that would be a good spot for Daniel too, if he does end up having to say, look, my shoulder's bad and I can't do anything. That'd be a great place for him to start. And not to say he can't come back later, because look at the guy who trained him, Shawn Michaels. 4 years out with a back injury that they said was never going to be fixed. And then he had the best run of his career for 8 or 10 years.
Getting murdered by Triple H.
Yeah. Considering that Shawn went back into WWE only to have the holy hell kicked out of him. That took guts.
That SummerSlam match against Triple H. I want to watch that again, actually.
That might be one of my favorite matches WWE put out.
That the 3 stages of hell.
That was they always had instant classics. That's what I loved about Triple H and Shawn, is they had such a natural chemistry together, and they told a story together that few people really have that match to make a match and to tell a story that way and to keep you compelled and to be rooting for both people at the end of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The fact that like that was happening and like and to see how it got covered in Wrestling Isn't Wrestling afterwards.
But that was a great video. If you haven't seen that video, go watch the Wrestling Isn't Wrestling video. Just type it in on YouTube. You will not be disappointed. Believe me when I say that. So what's your reaction? Now, this is a question I'm interested to find the answer to, because I just watched the McMahon podcast with Steve Austin, and that was right after the time that the streak was broken.
Yeah.
And here we are a year and a half later, and we saw where Brock Lesnar went. We saw how hard he was pushed. We saw where The Undertaker went and how he had his match with Bray Wyatt. So do you think, what's your reaction now to the streak ending, now that we've seen where it's led and how things have progressed a little bit?
I'm good with it. It was one of those things that, like, when it happened, I was like, oh, all right, that makes sense. And I was always good. It wasn't like one of those things I was like, no, it's over. And like, it's wrestling. Like, wrestling isn't real. I mean, honestly.
Well, it was almost like the streak had become more of an entity than The Undertaker or Brock Lesnar.
But you get so tight with, like, all these wrestlers that you're so mentally invested in them that, like, when big things happen for them, you become so proud of them. Like, getting wrapped up in, like, Sami Zayn winning and getting wrapped up when, like, Kevin Owens beat Cena. Stuff like that.
That was a terrific match. If you haven't seen that match, go watch that match. Because it is amazing.
Both Owens matches with Cena are phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought his match the other day was really good, too. And you know what's great about them is that they gave them the time to tell the story.
That's
they
exactly
gave them half an hour and said, go. Show us what you got with the best guy in the business. And he performed both times.
And I like the way that people are already campaigning for Cena to be going against Kevin Owens in an Iron Man match.
That I could see. That'd be great. I would watch that.
Oh yeah, it's insane that they were able to have such good chemistry so soon. I think Cena was just relieved when he saw all these indie people ready to go. Like, if you look at it, like, imagine how good his match with Sami Zayn was, and, like, Kevin Owens, and imagine how good his match with, like, Finn Balor is going to be when that happens. All these people are ready to go, like, so quick that all they needed was to learn the WWE style, and they're just running with it. It makes me so happy and confident for what the future is going to be. We just got to get rid of, like, some dead weight, if you were.
Well, you think about when McMahon said that they have to reach out and they have to be more ambitious and grab the brass ring, and I think we've seen just that in this past year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We've seen them climb and grasp and get to these places, and look how far they've come now.
I know, it's insane that these people were able to come so hard, and, like, I just hope that they're able to put these people in a way, like, some people that worry me are like Ziggler and Ambrose, that, like, I just want them to be as well off as I'd hope they'd be.
Right.
And there's some people that I'm scared of, and like Roman Reigns especially, he concerned me, and I wouldn't say his hater, but, like, I just hated the way he specifically was pushed.
Yeah. I think a lot of people did. A lot of people, even casual fans, they like him and he's got potential, but I think WWE after probably February realized that he needs way more time than they were giving him. And look, I mean, he was banked to win Money in the Bank, and did he win? No. So they're obviously seeing what we're seeing with that.
Yeah, it was one of those things where he needs way more time in the ring, way less time on the mic.
Right. Like, I think having a mouthpiece would really help his case. If he had somebody good on his side to do the talking. And I'm not saying Heyman, because I don't think they'd have a good enough chemistry, but somebody.
Yeah, like...
I'll do it. I don't care.
Exactly. Now, like, Heyman shouldn't be the answer for everyone, because it doesn't work. I mean, look at Cesaro. Everyone thought that was going to work. Everyone was like, thank you. Thank you for finally getting Cesaro what he needs to do. And it didn't work because, I don't know, Cesaro just, he didn't fit with Heyman.
Right. Oh, or neither did Axel. I mean, and that's not against Axel. I think Axel was kind of had a Reigns situation where he was pushed a little too early. Mm-hmm. And then the interesting thing about wrestling fans now is they can see through that. They have this ability to be like, you know what? We've seen enough of these storylines to know what's going on in the ring.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's really one of the biggest things that's changed about the industry as a whole. But I think it's also for the better, because then you live up to a higher standard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, next question I got is, your opinion, most underrated main roster talent?
Most underrated main roster talent. Zack Ryder.
I knew you were going to say Zack Ryder. It almost seems like a default with Zack Ryder, because he's so...
I was so invested. I was like a legitimate fan of him. And I still am, and I'm so happy for what he's doing in NXT, because I was pushing for that for months. I was like, Zack Ryder, all he wants to do is just go out there and wrestle in front of people and have people like him. That's all he cared about. He never said that he wanted to be like the main guy forever.
Right.
He even said in interviews that he just wants to be like he wants to be like upper mid card, like mid card stuff. And why would you get that rid of him for that? Like, it was almost like they punished him for getting over, and I just didn't get it. Yeah. So now the fact that he's tagging with Mojo Rawley, and I don't know much about Mojo Rawley, but like I like what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
To have those two tag in NXT is perfect because it lets Zack Ryder wrestle and become excited about wrestling again, and he can work longer matches. Like, honestly, yeah, you don't know of that many good Zack Ryder matches. I know of two. His whole career, I know of two matches of Zack Ryder's that I like. And that's when he won the U.S. title versus Dolph Ziggler, and when he retired Tommy Dreamer. That's all I know about him.
That was a fantastic match. Zack Ryder and Tommy Dreamer. And the problem is, I think, to your point, is that he's really hasn't been given the length of time. You mentioned the length of time that he's got for matches. He really hasn't had that opportunity to go the full distance and really tell a story and have the time to tell a story.
And that's what people are really gravitating to about NXT. It isn't just that it's like, oh, it's all these indie people. It's not just that. It's the fact that they're able to have normally length matches and to have people care about them in a way. And you can able to have, like, you can go time without seeing the same people on every single show.
Yeah.
Like you can see, like, Enzo and Big Cass on, like, once every, like, 2-3 weeks, and it's cool. You're not going to become, like, outraged that Enzo and Big Cass aren't on for 1 week because you have Finn Balor. If you don't have Finn Balor that week, you have Samoa Joe. You don't have Samoa Joe that week, you have, like, Tyler Breeze and all this other shit. It's amazing.
And hopefully a Tommy when he comes back.
A Tommy's, like, he was adapting the WWE style way better. Like, his first match and his second match against Finn Balor are gravely different because he's able to adapt. And, like, Tyler Breeze and him complement each other well, and he became much better because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, just moving away from WWE a little bit before we go on to our next segment, which we're going to get into quickly.
Yes.
First thing, do you think that we're going to see a better TNA and Ring of Honor now that DA has both? Destination America picked up Ring of Honor to the surprise of everybody, including TNA. Mm-hmm. And now they're both on the show. They've both garnered not so great ratings. So do you think that we're going to see, even if they're not working together or not in direct competition, almost a push of energy between the two?
I'd like to think that this would be a kick in TNA's ass for multiple reasons. My hope is that, like, and I am not caught up on TNA. And sadly, I'm not caught up on ROH.
I'm not either. I follow both on Facebook, but that's my extent to it.
Yeah, that's about the extent I have too. But, like, what sucks about TNA is that, like, me and Guy on the Right specifically, is, like, he's a big wrestling fan. Like, we talk about it at work and shit like that. But, like, back in the day, we were so hyped about TNA. We liked them more than WWE at that point. Because TNA was just something different.
Right.
And they just... It was during that time, and like we were so hyped about them because it was like Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and all this shit. And then they're like, all right, you know how we liked all that stuff? Well, we're going to hire Hulk Hogan and go against him on Monday nights and hire all of Hulk Hogan's friends that were on like his Australia tour and have like Val Venus beat like one of our biggest stars just cause. And let's change the ring to 4 sides and then call like the people that get mad, the TNA purist fans, like marks because they get mad at that. They just made all these horrendous string of decisions that they eventually became like the company that cried wolf in a way because they're like, oh, all right, we're gonna have like great matches, we're having great matches, and everyone's like, cool, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna do some dumb shit now, and I'm like, no, and then now they're having good matches of what I hear, and they have like
they've significantly improved, I will say, because I've seen some of their matches and I've seen some of the storytelling. TNA's got a great product out right now that's not getting good exposure and is run by someone who has no clue what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the biggest problem. I think TNA would be way bigger than it was if somebody who knew how to run the business ran the business.
And they got rid of the people that did. Like, they focused more on Russo, and God bless them, but, like...
It's Russo. That's all you need to say, really.
Russo is good when he's reined in.
Yeah.
Like, look at WWE. He was, like...
Gold.
He was gold in WWE. Gold. You know why? Because he had to run things through Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon knew how to say no to him.
Yeah.
And in WCW, he just got to run with the biggest leash ever. They're like, well, you made money for Vince, so make money for us. Go. And he's like, okay, you're gonna have this. I'm gonna make myself the world champion, and David Arquette, and aliens, and ninjas and shit, and it just became such a clusterfuck that never put him solely responsible in front of a company. Ever.
Don't give him a whole job. Give him half a job.
Just make him the lead writer, and he has good ideas. I like his ideas. It's just that, like, although I don't like what he does now, as far as like he doesn't like the NXT talent because they're not big and imposing. Like, he was talking shit about Kevin Owens because, like, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn could never measure up to, like, someone like John Cena, even though he literally just did. Which is
and I think that also proves the development of the business as a whole too, because you've got a whole scenario where people are trying to compare to previous years, and it's like, well, but the industry's different, and the style of who's a heel and who's a face has changed so dramatically. It's not just enough to have a look. You have to have the ring talent. You have to have the promo skills. You have to have a demeanor that makes people want to care about you, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be as gimmicky or as built up as it used to be.
No.
I mean, look at Sami Zayn. Basically, his character is him.
His character is that he cares a lot and he tries real hard. And that's okay.
And that's Daniel Bryan, too. And look how over Daniel Bryan got with the fans.
Of course. Because he's so relatable. He's you. He's me. He's like, it's what he wants. Like, is that us for just to root for him? And there was something very admirable about that. He was able to just get all over and everything based on, like, work ethic, and the fans actually rallying behind him because he just wasn't treated right. Like, if you notice what happened, and I look at WrestleMania, I think it was 28 for this.
Yep.
Is where he was
the 18-second match.
Yeah, and like they're built up, and like if you look at that, like Daniel Bryan's supposed to be like this chicken shit heel who like was getting over because like he was like verbally abusing his girlfriend. Yeah. Everyone's like everyone knew that Sheamus was winning that match, and everyone knew that Daniel Bryan was in his comeuppance, and everyone was okay with that. We just wanted a good match, and then it was 17 seconds, so we could have like a longer fucking Kid Rock concert or something. And we're like, if you notice, that's when everything changed, because we're just like, no, fuck you. He deserved better, like, and Sheamus deserved better. It's just that Sheamus got painted in a corner for such a long time because of what he did to Daniel Bryan. Yeah,
and it's unfortunate that that's the way that things went. But of course, I mean, but I think things improved for Bryan and Sheamus, and with that, we got to move on.
Yeah.
Because we're going to wrap up here. We got about 12 minutes left, I would say. So we're going to go to our segment 3, which is basically our smorgasbord segment. So we're gonna go back to the MagNation a little bit now that we've talked a bit about wrestling around the world. And the first thing I want to ask is, what was your reaction when Jack 6 said, "Okay, I'm taking this group and I'm leaving to do my own thing"? What was your original reaction to the gall that he had to actually move things forward and say, "You know what, MagNation, I don't need you. I can make things better"?
Oh, I was shocked.
Yeah,
because it's one of those things where we were so good to him for so long, and then he got drunk with power, and that's how he got out the first time. He got out for the first time because he was drunk with power. And
he got arrogant.
And the second time, his things were good. He wanted to be good. He wanted to stop the unwashed, and the unwashed was bad. The unwashed is still bad. I don't like the way they're looking going to the pay-per-view, actually, going for all my major titles for the most part.
Yeah, which is pretty intense. I mean, you don't want to pull an Evolution there, if you know what I mean.
Three of the 6 spots in the Elimination Chamber are unwashed members, but that's besides the point.
Wow.
Like, Jack 6 was trying to stop him, and they just didn't have the team cohesion because everyone was a diva, and he got eliminated, and he didn't win the match. And honestly, I'm not angry for the way he went out. I'm angry for the way he took his ball and stayed home, basically.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is it was so disrespectful the way that he was like, no, you know what, I'm keeping my championship, I'm going to rename it something, but I'm going to keep it blue just as a kind of a spit in the face to you both, to you and Blue. And it couldn't have helped morale in the locker room. When they all found out of the split and you told them what was the backstage reaction?
A lot of them support me, and there are a few that really support. A few of them want to go down there and kick their ass. And,
Wow.
it's good that we have competition, not because I never saw Green as competition. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean that as in
course.
like I don't want to do any better than him. I always want to have a good show. That's all I care about. I want I want Green to put on good matches. I want Blue to put on good matches. So there was never a rivalry between me and Green. But as far as Red, I want to have better matches. It makes me want to become a better promoter because they're doing what they're doing. And it just sucks that it's come to that where I'm losing people. I lost like a bunch of people.
And they took a lot of big names. I mean, you look at Captain Pollution, who was really a mainstay of the MagNation for so long.
Yeah.
You've got people like Leonidas leaving. That was a shocker to me that Leonidas jumped ship.
Sephiroth.
And Sephiroth too. And there's a whole bunch of people who you just never expect would have crossed the bridge and ended up being in Jack Six's corner.
Yeah, even like say a Spawn, who
Spawn was a pretty surprising too.
He was relegated to like lower card stat, like hardcore division at best, because he didn't do a thing called win matches. And now some people like that, I'm almost okay with. I'm almost happy for him because he's doing better.
Land of opportunity.
Yeah, like Piccolo,
which is what's been promoted on Jack Nation Red, has been having that be the land of opportunity for those people who feel disgruntled, if you will. And this is just coming from someone who's been in the Red locker room.
Well, yeah, like I can't be all but bitter about it because there's some things that I'm okay with happening. Like, say, like the D-League stuff being activated again. What I didn't like specifically is the Exotic Express.
That was a surprise.
That one hurt.
That one, I was surprised that he put on a red shirt, to be honest with you.
I feel like, and I was told from fucking Broly's agent of all people, not even Broly had the decency to tell me this. But
not even a text? Not even a tweet?
No, I got a text from his agent saying that Broly wanted to, because Brock wasn't able to make it through the portal, he went back. But honestly, they could do, like, I don't see that, because I think that Brock could have very easily gone through the portal.
Yeah.
He's a dude that has a fucking green and orange thing with, like, khakis.
Would not have been that difficult.
So, and to bring the titles back specifically, even though they aren't necessarily available anymore, I don't like that at all.
It was another spit in the face. It was another show of disrespect from people who you wouldn't really expect it from.
Yeah.
Almost the Josh Matthews type of thing. I don't know whether you knew about that.
Oh, yeah.
Or heard about that, where Josh Matthews just went on a rant about JR, which was like, I was like, are you serious? Are you seriously disrespecting JR?
No one disrespects JR.
Yeah, like nobody does. I was livid when I saw those tweets. I'm like, Josh Matthews, I'm going to go and kick the crap out of you. But I digress.
Bitch.
Yeah, I mean, let him go, I guess. So speaking of, let's talk about what was your favorite match thus far of total of 4 years of MagNation, and you can count Jack Nation matches too if you want, and your favorite match, period, to date of the MagNation.
I like the first 7-on-7 for what it meant. As far as like emotional wise, it's the first 7-on-7. As far as like match quality, I don't think many things could touch what happened in that Blue Money in the Bank match.
Yeah,
that was a great match.
We've had a lot of Money in the Bank matches on Blue, but I know the one you're talking about specifically.
Yeah, that was a great match because like it's hard. It's hard for like the stars to align the way they did in that match, where you were able to have all those things happening at once.
Right.
Like people jumping off the ropes and getting like a Canadian destroyer through a table.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy.
It was just insane that they were able to get away with all that.
Yeah, man, and
bodies on the line.
And that's the thing, you can never say anything about any of the rosters, whether it's Jack Nation, MagNation, they always put in 110%, even if it's losing. We've got some of the most loyal and most dedicated wrestlers on the market today, hands down.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part about it. So next thing is, if you could pick any wrestler from another company, which could be virtual, it could be TAW, it could be CIW, or it could be anyone, I guess, on any main rosters. But if you had anyone that you wanted to have on your show as on a permanent basis, who would you choose?
Good question. Booster Gold is one that I have a strange attachment to. I don't know why.
I have a feeling that's coming up soon. Just saying.
I've been trying to find them on 15. And I just couldn't find them anywhere.
I feel like that might be happening sooner rather than later.
I mean, I'd hope so. I mean,
I hope so. That's one of the things you're gonna have to just stay tuned and watch, people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but like Booster Gold 6, I mean, like Kick-Ass 2. Think about like all those cool like people in Kick-Ass 2.
Oh yeah, that would be actually a pretty good filler for roster too if you were
Commander Stars and Stripes and Dr. Gravy.
Yeah.
The motherfucker.
Oh my god.
Hey, there was a Princess Fiona versus Jessica Rabbit match.
Oh, there you go. So, funny stuff. But that's cool. It's interesting that I think Kick-Ass 2, that would be a nice little fill-in. I would love to see Captain Stars and Stripes involved.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really intense movie for considering, like, what it was about and, like, how, like, it was lighthearted. That movie got very intense.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a few times.
Oh, another one that I was thinking of, and one that I've wanted for a long time, as far as the MagNation Blue women's division, or the women's division in general, is Uma Thurman from Kill Bill.
That would be epic. I just watched that movie probably a month ago, and that movie is, hey, go watch that movie. Anyone who's out there, go watch Kill Bill. That movie is so good. I'm actually looking forward to Tarantino's new Hateful Eight.
Yeah, he says it's like a masterpiece, and like he shot.
You know that
like,
they're shooting that and they're filming it and distributing it in 70mm to give it a classic look.
Yeah.
I'm going to theaters to watch that movie. I do not care. I want to see that in 70mm film because that's going to be insane. So, but I would love to see Uma Thurman from Kill Bill. So if you could find her, it's basically like Bruce Lee, CIW, which has the Game of Death outfit. It's yellow and black, people. It's not that difficult. Yeah. Get at it. If you create them, create her.
Oh, yeah, I want a decent amount of like Tarantino people. Like another one specifically is like the Bear Jew.
To the Baron Union.
Because like he's just such a blue collar, like tough ass person.
Yeah.
That you just never see. Anymore.
I would have loved to see Mike Myers' character from that movie in the MagNation.
Yeah.
Where he's just playing Austin Powers, but in 1940s Germany.
Yeah, it was insane.
It was great. I love that Mike Myers is even in that movie. Because all of a sudden you're seeing him and just like, is that Mike? That's Mike Myers.
Yeah.
What's he doing in this movie?
I know, it was insane.
Actually, speaking of Brad Pitt movies, you know what I thought you'd find this interesting. You've seen 12 Years a Slave, assumedly.
I haven't, actually.
Wow. Okay, well then I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but I want to say something that's really funny about that movie. Because basically at the last 15 minutes, Brad Pitt comes in as a character basically just to save the day. And he's in like one scene, and then at the end of it, you're just like, wow, thank you, Brad Pitt, for saving the day. And that's like the whole content of him being in it. I think that's a riot. So go watch that movie, though. Terrific movie. We have about 3 minutes left.
Yes.
So I want to first discuss one. I guess got one last question. Oh, let's do your top 5 before we run out of time to do that.
All right.
Top 5 MagNation, JagNation wrestlers, and you don't have to have them in any particular order except your number 1.
All right. As far as like who I liked, all right, I'll do who I like right now.
Yeah.
I honestly like Sub-Zero as far as like I like the way his moveset and character is. I like Link a lot.
Link's good.
I like Bane's always been a favorite of mine for
Bane's a classic.
Bane is a classic
wrestler.
I like Green Goblin's always a top one for me. I like how we built him up from like nothing.
Yeah.
Green Goblin, I love that guy. And
Green Goblin's great.
Honestly, like from the bottom and now he's here, the Hulk.
He surprised me. And I made that joke earlier about the 4-21 Hulk. And that was way back in the day.
Yeah.
And
it's insane.
Yeah.
And now he was 500 for a little bit, and now like we'll see him in action at the pay-per-view going for the Hardcore Championship.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Northern Lights 3, Blinded by the Light, and it's already recorded. I already like it.
It's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, gonna be
a great time.
Solid pay-per-view.
No, I'm excited. I'm always excited to see what's going on. So guys, we've got a lot of great stuff going on in the MagNation. My last question for you is I want to touch on your Royal Rumble match.
Oh, of course.
Your appearance in the Rumble, because yes, you made a surprise. I mean, you surprised a lot of people with how well you were able to go in and do what you needed to do. And you got quite a fair amount of eliminations. You stayed in for like 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
What was it like for you going in and competing against a lot of the guys that you built up and booked together?
It felt so good eliminating Captain Planet. It's so good.
Yeah, I could feel. And that was before he really got on that big run as Captain Pollution.
Oh, absolutely. And then to get eliminated by King kind of bummed me out a little bit. But, like, it was just cool mixing it up with people for once.
Yeah.
And not to say that I wouldn't ever do it again, because, like, you know how, like, nevers are in this thing, but, like...
Oh, of course.
It was kind of cool to just be, like a one-and-done type thing where, like, I like being behind the mic. I enjoy being behind the scenes.
Right.
It's just fun to do that way. But it was cool being a wrestler for once.
Well, I think it was great seeing you out there. It was great seeing how far you went. I know that, at least on my behalf, I'm pretty sure a lot of the fans were really rallying for you there. And that whole thing was won by Packard.
Oh, of course.
Which is the crazy. That was probably one of the most famous Royal Rumbles, just for the notoriety of, one of the commentators won it.
Yeah, and people got pissed off. They're like, "Oh, you fixed it." I'm like, "No, that was first shot."
Yeah, that's legitimately how it went down. Yeah. But that's what makes the MagNation so great, is you just never know what's going to happen. So I think with that, we're going to wrap up this podcast. Thank you so much, Trevor, for being a part of this. I'm excited to continue doing more. And stay tuned, guys, because we're going to be doing these hopefully on a weekly basis, so we can get these out to you. You can hear a little bit more about the inside of the business, and you can hear more about our opinions, wrestling of the world. Any final words you got to say, Trevor?
No, it was cool doing this. I mean, I enjoy being interviewed. If you ever need a second one of me, I am game.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to get both you and Mag2 on the show, because I think that'd be great to have the two guys who were really running it for the longest time being there together. But We'll have to see how it goes. So thank you so much, Trevor, for being involved. This is, of course, Breaking the Fourth Wall from the Civil Defense Shack of the remote alkaline flats of the Springfield Badlands. My name is the Colonist. We've broken the fourth wall. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time, everybody.